Hey everyone, Tony Walsh here. Welcome back to the channel. Uh, I'm filming this on Sunday afternoon, so if you watched my last Farm Truck Friday, uh, day before yesterday, my wife Jackie was on the prayer list because she has now been diagnosed with the gout. Amongst everything else she's got, she now has the gout. So, we're starting to learn about gout and how to prevent it in the future, and some of it, is with your diet. And that's, to me, is a lot what homesteading is about. Why I don't practice what I preach, because I don't homestead like I need to. Don't grow gardens like I need to, because I'm still busy with life's general things. So for those of y'all that do, kudos to you. But I want to give sort of a shout out to one of my loyal supporters, and that is Rick from Twin Brook Acres. Now, Rick and I have never met. We've never talked. But, we have emailed on a couple occasions and all that. So instead of Rick leaving a comment on my Farm Truck Friday video last week, he, as he said, felt compelled to send me an email. So we have emailed back and forth since then. And I asked him if I could share his email with you and his story, because it's a story that holds a lot of validity, and it really surmises why homesteaders are trying to live the way they are, because a lot of it is our diet. So I'm going to read parts of Rick's email to you, and I'll elaborate as we go forth. I don't know how long this will be. It may be long-winded. You may not care 2 cents about it, and I totally understand. But it's really, as we start the new year and make resolutions, which I have not done in the last 2 or 3 years, Rick's email really hits home as to how we need to really start thinking about not just our food source, but how that food is grown and sourced. So let me get to Rick's email. It says, Tony, I was compelled to write to you after watching your latest video. I'm sorry to learn of Jackie's health condition. I hope she's feeling better soon. So thank you, Rick. And thank you to everybody that left me a comment. It says, way back, and I'll skip parts of it. Way back in 1968, I had a lesson in school about life in the future, meaning the future now. Said they taught us that the American diet would be terrible for us. The food would be full of chemicals. Corporate farming would dominate. The vegetables they grow would be lacking in nutrients because the soils would be exhausted and the crops would be heavily sprayed with chemicals. And he's right. Dirt gets turned, it gets tilled. Talk about big fields. It's constantly got a blade or a plow running through it. Now, there is a lot of no-till now, but it is still, dirt is turned. You got wind erosion, you got rain erosion and water runoff, so topsoils are being depleted. And to me, that's one reason why I like raised beds, is because I can control the soil. I control the amount of water that grows in it. I can pick weeds out by hand and not have to deal with a big mess of weeds like the traditional garden. I can go into my traditional garden now, and it's knee deep in weeds and all that, because I didn't plant a cover crop on it. Where the raised beds, let weeds grow in it. Come springtime, I'll pick them out. So raised beds to me are the way to go, because I can control the soil, control the weeds. I can control what gets sprayed, if anything gets sprayed, which we very rarely spray some. We do use some 7-Dust, which is a chemical, but I sparingly use that. And I need to get to more of the traditional or non-traditional chemicals like neem oil and other things like that. Because we are a heavily chemical-dependent industry in agriculture. And that stuff's going to our bodies. I can remember I grew up on a dairy farm, and we started feeding cows high nutrient feed so that their bags or their udders would get bigger to produce more milk. I'm not sure how to say this, but yet, you can look at some of the young girls growing up now, and they're starting to develop at 10 and 11 years old. And I just firmly believe in my mind it's because what we're feeding dairy cows is being transferred into the mammary glands of our girls. The meats would be terrible for us because it would be raised in buildings. Yes, cows are not getting the exercise. They're, cooped up, pinned up in stalls, shoulder to shoulder, neck to neck, end to end. So they're not getting natural exercise to build muscle tone. They're getting very little exercise where they put on weight and weight quickly. Said they would be fed poor quality feed pumped full of chemicals. This poor quality food would create many health problems for us, as I said a moment ago. I think it's just being transposed or transferred to our bodies. As a result of this lesson, I was always careful about what I ate, but still our food came from the grocery store and we were still eating the American diet. And that's true. We were healthy, so I was not too worried. And I remember, if you think about the old days, our grandparents and great-grandparents, how small and thin they were. Well, they eat eggs, fresh eggs. They eat fresh pork. They eat lard, by the buckets. They eat all that stuff that was supposedly bad for us. But yet, if you think about it, it was 100% natural because they grew their own feed to feed their animals. And why they might not produced 300 bushels to the acre on corn, they grew natural corn. So they would count blessings if they had 50 or 60 bushels to the acre, but yet feeding it to the pigs, feeding it to the cows was a natural food to that animal that then transferred to us. Now you can grow a pig in a third of the time. You can grow a cow in a third of the time. You can grow a pine tree. I can remember growing up that a pine tree in South Georgia, if you planted it, you would never see that tree harvest. It wouldn't mature. Now you can grow a pine tree to full maturity in 20 to 30 years, depending on your weather and soil conditions in the variety of the tree. But what that tells you is that piece of wood does not have the strength that its predecessor had. And I firmly believe that's why our damages in hurricanes and tornadoes are so much greater, because the wood is not as strong. It doesn't have the tensile strength of its predecessor. Look at the rings of a 2x4 next time you buy one. See how close they are together. Sometimes you have to have a pencil to mark the lines as you try to count them, where in the old days, you could see the rings beautifully because they would be growth in between the rings. So again, we have genetically modified everything from our animal food to the food we're eating to even the pine trees that we build our houses out of. It says, but Rick continues, it says he was healthy until his mid-50s and he started gaining weight like the rest of us do. Blood pressure started to elevate like the rest of us is. And it is attributed to the lack of exercise and stress, which y'all know I have lived over the last couple of years because I haven't been shy about that. He says even as his son Ricky passed away in 2011 because all that was a contributing factor. He says, but then my body began to ache in many ways. Every joint ached, and he had plantar fasciitis, neuropathy, and he could barely stand or walk without severe pain in his lower legs and feet. Well, I understand how you feel, Rick. My left foot has been broken twice from cows stepping on it. I broke my kneecap. I'm overweight, so I totally understand what you've been through. Plus, I was born club-footed, so I've had a natural foot issue from the day I was born. Both feet was born club feet. It says a traditional doctor was no help except to prescribe pills, which means big pharma is now involved. And I don't care what you say about the healthcare industry. Yes, it's broke, but it's broke because of big pharma and insurance companies. Neither one of those are going to lose money. You blame your bills on the hospital, but look behind the bills and see what this stuff costs, what it costs the hospital to produce or to use. The unfunded mandates by the government that hospitals have to pay. Yeah, the healthcare system is broken. Yes, the hospitals are part of it, but the overwhelming majority of it is due to the big corporations. They are not going to lose a dime. You can tax them all you want, and they're going to pass the taxes on to you and I. So in the end, we're going to pay for it. So Rick talks about he switched his diet in January 2022 to essentially a keto diet, but he says all of his food is locally grown. Says we continue to expand our fruits and vegetables here at home. Our meats and dairy products all come from local farms. There are no chemicals, hormones, etc., and all are organic, and that's great. Except in my area of the country, very few organics are available that are fresh. So you end up buying it from a store and you pay an arm and a leg for that organic if you have to buy it. Says he switched to a naturopathic doctor and prescribed some natural supplements and takes, which it takes more time. But as a result of those changes, he's seeing improvements in his health. Says he's still on metformin, which I take as well, so I understand that. Says he was on 2 BP meds and now he's down to 1. Well, I think I'm on 3. So I've still got some work to do. Let's see, okay. So got that. It says after 12 months on the healthier diet and 5 months with the new doc, he's lost 45 to 50 pounds. So congratulations, Rick. I wish I could lose that. Says he's pain-free and often walks a few miles per day, and he's even playing hockey again. Says his wife has lost some weight too, and her gout is gone. And he says they still eat meat. Says he don't believe it's the meat that causes gout, it's the bad food that's in the meat. So, there could be some validity to that. He does offer some YouTube channels that helped him, and that's Dr. Ken Berry, a Dr. Boz, not Oz, but Boz, B-O-Z, a Dr. Ken Berg, a Dr. Sten Ekberg, and then the last channel is Semi-Retired Bob, that have helped Rick. Now, I've watched a few YouTube channels that do some natural stuff, and I've watched them, but this year I've got to pay a little bit more attention to them. One that I watch a lot and the most that talks about this is Joyce from Morris Patch of Heaven Homestead. So Joyce, I've always enjoyed your videos. We've always, commented back and forth, but I promise you I will pay more attention to the words in your videos instead of just watching the video to support you, because I agree with Rick. We've got to get back natural, even if it costs more in money. We've got to get natural for our health. So in that leads to Rick's last paragraph. It says many people claim that buying good food is too expensive, but it really isn't. The price for good food is higher than a grocery store, but we eat less because it provides more nutrition. So while yes, you might pay more, if you're buying less, it sort of offsets itself, because you maybe only get down to eating 2 meals a day instead of eating 3. He says they are also cutting out pharma costs and medical bills because they're healthier. And he really just closes, it says, and what is your health worth? And that's really what got to me is, it's not about the money. It's not about the convenience. It's about the natural ability to supply food for our diets. Another channel I watch is Micah McGee from McGee Homestead Adventures. Micah eats a lot of stuff that I would never eat, and it's meat. He'll eat a possum, a raccoon, or anything else. And I banter back and forth with him. There's no way I would eat that. But, it's meat and it's protein. And it's natural meat and natural protein, because that possum and that raccoon and everything else that he eats is out eating natural foods grown in the ground. They're out in the woods, so you don't have no big chemical sprays out there. So, the possum is 100% natural. Maybe I need to give it some thought. So Rick closes by just saying, sorry for the diatribe, Tony. I hope you both feel better soon. And that's really the message I'm trying to relate to you today. Is I preached a sermon this morning on staying the course, and that's what I need to do this year, is get on course to eating healthier and doing healthier. And as I challenged my church members this morning on staying the course in 2023 as far as their faith goes, that is my challenge to you for 2023, is stay the course on trying to eat and live a more natural and healthier lifestyle. Rick, again, I thank you for the letter. It really hit home to me yesterday, because when Jackie's, hobbling around in pain, I'm trying to figure out what in the world do we need to do, because she is the rock of this family. She rarely complains. So when she does, that hits home that something's wrong. I couldn't live my life without her. She could live without me, but I could not live with my life without her. So I've got to do a better job of taking care of myself so that I can help take care of her. And I need to be setting that example for the rest of my family and living that example to you, and that we all work together to stay the course to live a more natural life in 2023. Now, this is a rant, this is a rave, this is a ramble. I'm at 16 and a half minutes, so I don't know how much of it you've watched, but I just want to say close by saying thank you for all your support. I'll be praying for you in 2023, and let's all get back to living a healthier and natural life. Y'all take care, and God bless.